Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of the Adventure Metrics Podcast. I'm Matt Horwitz.
I'm Scott Brills.
And welcome. I already said welcome, but welcome again. Scott, it's good to see you, man.
You can never say welcome too many times.
Welcome to the podcast. Scott, welcome to the show. We just want to welcome our listeners.
And welcome, everyone.
How you been, man?
Been good. Busy as usual. Travel, work, etc.
Nice.
Same old.
All right, your video just got. If you're bear with us, we have some Skype technical issues we're starting out with, but it's still okay. I still have you.
Oh, yeah, I even see it down here.
All right, we go. Let's just roll with it. So you just got back from probably, dude. I got a bunch to say on it. I saw some photos and I've read a few things. I think you've had quite an epic experience the whole month, but I know that you just got back from Burning Man. What have you been up to the month of August?
This is indeed my Burning Man tan. Yeah, this is tan for me, and my Burning Man beard. So you can tell I just got back, and my throat's kind of raspy because of a week's worth of playa dust in my throat and my nostrils, which I'm sure will take another week or two to get out. You'll see me doing that. You'll hear me doing that a lot because it's still pretty much deep inside my lungs.
Can you feel it when you're breathing?
Oh yeah, like. It feels like you've got like a cold or something just because it's blowing through the air all the time. And sometimes there's even dust storms. And I had a bandana, but like it doesn't protect very much. And after a while, I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to breathe it in. Yeah. And I mean, it was okay that week. But then afterwards, when you get to clean air, you can really start to feel it. So that's what I'm going through right now. But yeah, anyway, most of August was really busy. Had a bunch of trips to different places, New York and Quebec and Salt Flats, Bonneville Salt Flats is Speed Week time trials, where I was part of the pit crew of the world record holding team. And I also went on a 2-week RV trip with some of our buddies to Burning Man and back, and just got back early yesterday morning. So I'm still recovering. I've basically spent 2 days in my underwear, just slowly recuperating. I just unpacked my car 2 days later. Like I just left everything in there. I was like, screw it, because it's gonna require hours of cleaning to get the dust off of everything, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I just have been like chilling and catching up on Breaking Bad and whatnot. The important stuff.
Yeah, I think since we last spoke, I'll update the folks. I was set to go out to Burning Man, and this is something that I'm just going to bring up. I literally just was going for a walk about an hour ago and was thinking about this because beforehand I was set to go and it was really busy and kind of also my finances were tight, and I was like, this Burning Man trip was stressing me out. I had like a trip scheduled right before then, just a little bit tied up, and so last minute my gut feeling was telling me just to not go, and I called you and I said, hey man, like I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm just going to trust my gut feeling, and I'm just feeling not to go to Burning Man. Then today I saw some like recap. Like I've seen a couple photos and I saw some recaps. And I just was like, oh my God, that experience sounded so amazing. Like I feel like you guys grew in I feel like you had 5 years of wisdom compacted into like 1 week of like intense, awesome, amazing, all kinds of interesting experiences. And then I was going for that walk just a little bit ago and I was like, man, I literally was like almost second guessing my intuition or my gut feeling. And then I was thinking to myself, resistance versus intuition. Like, how do we figure out those subtle differences between when there's resistance as something that like when resistance comes up, so it's something that we need to push through and do anyway, or when something's like your intuition telling you not to do it. And I find that the only way is just through calibration, like just I don't know. Any tips on that or any experience you have?
It's been my experience that even if I don't want to go out somewhere or I don't want to do something, I'd say 90% of the time, I'm happy that I did it. Even if I'm like, I'm tired or I don't want to go or it's probably going to suck or something like that, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's a good idea that I did it. That's about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I was reading something. Whatever I was reading earlier today, part of me thought that maybe I just wasn't ready for Burning Man this month. I kind of jumped into the group last minute, so I don't think I had all the details and the desires everyone else had, and I tried to accumulate that all at the last minute, and then doing that with balancing work. I kind of felt that I wasn't really going out of 100% pure desire, but I was just going to like kind of go along with the group. And then I would
Right.
feel bad if I didn't go because I felt like you guys would think I'm ditching out or whatnot.
Well, it sounds like you're in the same exact place that our buddy Mike Rostowski was in last year. Yeah, we were talking about that on the trip back after the burn, and he said, he really wanted to go last year, but he had just finished up a trip, and he had a bunch of obligations, and he thought, well, maybe this isn't the year for me. So it sounds like it was probably that way for you. That being said, it was amazing, and our homegirl Kim said the same thing. She's like, when Matt dropped out, because she was kind of in it with you, because you both came out at the same time. And so you're planning stuff out together. And she's like, I felt a lot of hesitation after Matt dropped out, especially because she's like, well, then I'd kind of like be on my own for a lot of things. And so she also had an amazing time. So no worries there.
Yeah. No, it was challenging, man. It was challenging it was challenging to pull out. Like literally, I called you on the phone. I called Scott at 8 o'clock in the morning. He didn't pick up. Later on, he's like, what are you doing? He's like, what does Matt call me at 8 o'clock in the morning for? Because I literally I knew that it was something that I needed to do. I needed to bail out, and I felt I had some fear around it, and it was just uncertainty. And I literally woke up and I knew I needed to work on other projects, but I couldn't get to them because I had this like looming over my shoulder. So I wake up, I call Scott at 8 a.m. I'm like, leave him like a 3-minute voicemail. I'm like, just explaining like, hey man, it was challenging, but I guess at the time it was something that I felt I needed to do. But now post Burning Man, like I feel like I'm ready now. And I reading the stuff, I was just like, wow, like it was just wow on so many levels. So,
and it's funny for me. I don't want to make this into a whole Burning Man podcast episode, but I was so busy throughout all of August. I was so busy with work, with travel, and with planning Burning Man because I was, for all intents and purposes, in charge of the whole group of 17 or so people.
A lot of logistics.
Yeah, and so I was really burnt out when I got there. And so to be honest, I had all the best intentions of going through the program and checking out, let's see what like presentations I want to be a part of, and getting really into it. But by the time I got there, I was so drained. I really just wanted to chill and just take it easy.
Yeah,
pretty much the whole week. Like there were a couple long nights, but nowhere near as much as most of the other people involved. Like I really chilled a lot because I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
The good news for you is that I think pretty much everyone in our group said that they want to go back again probably next year. So you'll have another chance. But yeah, it was really interesting just to kind of recap it. I've heard about it. I heard about it in 2009 from a guy I was given a ride to in Tajikistan, a guy from New Zealand. And ever since I wanted to go, and timing's never worked out. And just happens that this year everyone got together and everyone wanted to go, and so that worked out. And I really, like, maybe more than anybody else, I delved into this because I was in charge of the big group and I needed to have as much info as I could get. I watched all the videos. I read all of the preparation guides, all of the, firsthand accounts. And really, I'm glad I did that because I think it makes your experience better.
Yeah.
But nothing can prepare you for actually being there. The first night we were there and we went into the center of the camp and you look around and there's lasers and lights all around for miles and just, tens of thousands of people around in crazy costumes and these art cars, disco fish lighting up in the night, just driving everywhere. And it's something that you just can't experience anywhere else in the world. And so everyone had their own takeaways. Mine was much different than anybody else's. And you can really do anything you want. If you just want to party 24/7 and do drugs, you can do that. If you want to go to these yoga / sexual / whatever retreats, you can do that. If you want to have an orgy, you can do that. Yeah. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I met the guy who discovered the hole in the ozone layer in the 60s. He's a PhD professor in I think, California, 85 years old. And they call him Crazy Jim because he just walks around naked all the time. And he was there with his wife, who is the head of a petrochemical company, and then I also met a producer for about 50 different shows on Discovery and History Channel.
Cool.
I met investment bankers. I met college kids. I met so many different people. And really the best part to me was going out and meeting people. And I know, through travel and whatnot, you meet people best when you're by yourself. And so I think next time when I go out there, I'll do a lot more solo stuff. This time I really stayed with the group or just chilled. most of the other people kind of took time to go out and do things on their own.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, but I just didn't have the energy. And so I'm glad I went there. I know what to expect now. And I can kind of, next time I go, I can kind of do it a little bit differently. Pressure will be a lot less. And I know what I want to experience now.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm just, no, not that it's funny. Give me a sec. I'm just jotting on a note for myself. I got to put something on my calendar just so. All right.
Burning Man 2014.
I'm just a Google Calendar is just like I don't just use it for appointments. It's like my mental things I want to remember at future dates. Google Calendar.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah, and Gmail tasks.
Gmail tasks.
I put an app on my phone that takes up the whole screen. It's one of my home screens, and I just use that for my to-do list.
Interesting. I haven't gotten it in the Gmail tasks. But
yeah, it's cool because I'm in Gmail more than anything else, so I know I'll always open it, so I'll always have the reminder.
Yeah. Well, I did not to, but just go back to the Burning Man thing. It just sounds amazing because I like as media, or not as media, but as as tech just improves, people can get closer to trying to imagine what Burning Man is by looking at photos and videos.
Yeah.
But I think not only is there so much external stimulus via like the costumes, you're in the desert, all this crazy creative art, but all the internal experiences, like there's such new things. And I know that you guys have been talking a lot about really pushing, like there are no boundaries. You just what are what you think you are and what you think you're comfortable with, all that just can get shattered at Burning Man. Yeah. And you really do test that. So
that was a theme of our camp after a while, is no boundaries, as he said. And, for instance, here's two crazy things that totally broke my boundaries, or pushed them extremely far. I spent over an hour washing naked people.
With your hands, right?
While naked,
it was like
with my hands.
Naked.
Yep.
What did you call it? Naked car wash or something?
Naked carcass wash, or human carcass wash.
Interesting.
So I went there with a couple friends, stripped naked. And then you've got a line of other people that are naked. And it's like a car wash where they have different stations, rinse, soap, lather, and then like squeegee off. And you've got different people at each station, like a group of 4 to 6, and they do it all with their hands. So you serve first by washing people at each station. And then when you get to the end, then you go through and you get washed. And I did that with my friends. I was naked, they were naked, everyone else was naked. And it's funny how you quickly forget that, because everyone is the same, and you could give a care, whether you're naked or not. And so it was very different for me. And
Mike wrote something interesting. He said nudity brings unity. And
right.
I haven't had a lot of experiences in group nudity. I did one nude comfort challenge like 2 months ago, which was extremely challenging to do. But after you do it, it's just kind of like, I think you probably feel a lot lighter in the world. It's like, whatever, man, the hell with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, most of the time at Burning Man, a lot of the people were just in underwear and whatnot, or there's a lot of topless women, there's a lot of bottomless guys, like it's a normal thing. And honestly, after the first half hour you're there, you just don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's a completely normal thing. Whether they're an old lady or a cute girl, or it doesn't really matter, as a guy, because you think, you'd be like, oh, wow, look at that. You really lose all interest very quickly, just because it's just such a normal thing to do.
Right.
I'm not going to be bringing this into normal life or anything, as far as I'm not going to start being a nudist or anything, but it's kind of interesting.
Next episode, Scott.
Yeah. My conversion to being a nudist. Yes. Yeah. You're there with other friends that have the same mindset, and you're doing it together. So that kind of puts you in a safe space, and everyone else around you is doing that. And it's the whole event is very non-judgmental.
Yeah.
So there are people, all different sexual orientations and genders and walks of life and ethnicities. And I mean, it's really a huge melting pot of people. And so there's very little, if any, judgment going on, at least overt.
Yeah.
And it's a very safe spot to do that if you so choose. I think most of our group did the human carcass wash in different times.
Yeah.
Some other people did other things, even crazier. I know one night myself and 60 other guys went out wearing just
I read that.
zebra loincloths and nothing else. We went to the club to dance in the middle of the day because it's a 24/7 party.
Yeah.
And when the music dropped, when the music reached its peak, we'd take them off and just bring them in the air, and we'd all jump around naked, and the whole crowd of thousands of people would just be looking at us like, "What are these guys doing?" And we did it 3 times there, and went to another few camps and did it there, and we had a thing called the zebra car wash, where we just stood in the middle of this giant road, 3 of us on each side, and we just. We took off the low-cost. We were just like waving them like zebra car wash, zebra car wash. People would ride their bikes through, and we'd it's nuts. I mean, this is definitely not anything I would normally do, but it's interesting to see how far you can push your level of feeling, safe, your boundaries and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of experience doing that through Break the Fear and everything. I not so much. Like I enjoy challenges and everything, but things like that was a big comfort challenge.
Yeah.
That is not something I do. Like I'm not somebody that just like gets naked all the time, even though I think there's nothing wrong with that. And, I kind of grew up partially in Japan, and, there's nude baths and stuff like that. It's a little bit different,
right.
There's nothing wrong with the human body or being naked or anything, but it's just something I wouldn't choose to do is, just like, for instance, go to a beach in Europe, like one of the nude beaches, and just take all my clothes off and just lay there on the beach and get a tan.
Yeah.
It's just not me. So, yeah, overall, it was a very interesting experience.
Interesting. On the topic of nudity, and it's interesting. Like comfort challenges were like they still have a huge impact. I actually have a coaching client I'm working with now who reached out to me through Break the Fear. And he was like, "What?" And he's basically like, I'm helping him think of comfort challenges, holding him accountable to them on a weekly basis. And he's like, "What comfort challenges do you do during the week?" And I'm like, "I don't really go out and really do them like I used to." And I did that a lot for a good year or two. And I lived with guys who were really interested in growth. And I still do surround myself with guys who are, but that was kind of like, that was a big initial jump for me. And then I told him, like, I don't necessarily need to go out and do that, but I think from doing that, I've learned to really trust my like inner voice and listen to that, and opportunities present themselves on a weekly basis where I got to do things that I'm afraid of, or I have to push myself through. For example, like it was a comfort challenge to call you and bail out. I felt because it was such a cool group of people, and I had just recently met everyone. There was pieces of inside of me where I just felt like, so that was challenging and uncomfortable, but I knew it was something that I needed to do. And funny on nudity, literally, like, I would probably be listening to you talk about this from a different perspective, but about a month or so ago, I was in a park with a friend, and she was literally like joking about the comfort challenge, and she's like, said something about like getting up and walking naked. And I don't know what it was. It was like really strange, but all of a sudden I felt like she probed into my weakness. And we were just sitting there, and like all of a sudden, like and that's the thing that happens to me, like when comfort challenges are either presented to me from someone else or I recognize them internally, like I just get to this state where I don't do them, but I don't walk away from that like emotion that kind of rose up. I just sit there and I'm like, holy shit. Like, and she's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, and I was like, I don't know, but I was like, maybe, I don't know. But then and then we tried to talk about something else, and I couldn't like ignore that feeling that rose up. So literally I sat there for like 10 more minutes thinking about it and was like, I think I should do this. And we were in like this park. There's like families around and kids. And it was just a really simple challenge to literally stand up, take off. I had my shirt off because we were laying out in the sun, but it wasn't a beach. It was like grass. And it was already a little bit awkward to be like, it was a little bit out of place, so to say.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm just going to get up, take off my shorts, walk like 10 steps. And like right before I do it, she's like, by the way, like cops in Rhode Island are really strict. I'm like, oh, great way to make this like 10 times more challenging. And I swear, people are going to listen to this recording at some point and think that I'm like rude or whatever. Cause there were kids around, there were families, there were parents, but I thought that I knew that there was something in me that I knew that I needed to do this for my own growth. It had nothing to do with like the nudity and all that stuff, but it was just like a challenge that presented itself. And so my friend literally got so uncomfortable that I was about to do this that she left, and she's like, "All right, I'll meet you at the car."
What? She's the one that brought it up.
I know, but then she's like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be the one that's sitting with the guy that just walked nude in the park. So she leaves, and literally I sat there for like, it took me like, I wasn't ready to do it, but I knew that I wasn't backing out. I kind of just sat right on the fence, and I knew that this was something that would really help me in life.
Right.
And even I was just sitting there, and I could sense my energy like would start to get low, and I would start to put my head down, and I'd be like, no, Matt, put your head up, keep your head up. And eventually I was getting crazy. I'd get like in the zone. I'm just like, you're a warrior. You live your, like, I just recognized that it was me not doing something that I wanted to do, regardless of what the actual, to me, it's never about the action. It's always the essence of it. So, it took me a long time. It's like, it's like, I'm going to get up and talk to that girl. Oh, and then you sit back down.
Yeah.
Like I did that twice. And anyway, I finally ended up, I put my bare nude, walked for 12 steps. And literally like on the third step, it was like all the work that I had to do, all the energy had already been done while I was sitting. And I just took the 12 steps, walked back, nonchalantly just like put my gym shirts on, slipped on my sandals. And I just, and I thought I was going to run. And I just like threw my shirt over my shoulder. And I just like calmly walked back to the car. And like, I felt so good the whole day. And I knew that if I didn't do that, I would just go home feeling horrible. So I know if you're listening to this, I have some other comfort challenge videos about doing easier things than this, but that was what I needed. And that was what I needed for my own growth. And I think that, I don't know, but anyway, I don't know, new today. I could talk about that. So.
Note to listeners, it could be a very bad idea to do that, because if there are children there, you can be caught with charged with public indecency and labeled as a child sex offender. Exactly. So be careful. Don't do that.
Yeah. But I think things like pushing your boundaries is more or less what it's about. It's not so much doing, and it's not, to me, comfort challenges are not comfort challenges if you're being like rude and offensive. But I felt that my growth potential was so enormous at that point in time that I knew that I just knew internally that I had to take action. But I think when we push our boundaries like this, for me, like I see like immediate, not necessarily immediate results, but I see immediately how I then am more fearless in my business or in speaking my truth with like friends or family or intimate partners or whatever it be. I just feel like I kind of own it a little bit more in doing these things like that. And I feel like Burning Man probably has
it's a safe space. Yeah, it's a safe space to do it. That's why, like I was mentioning, you could get arrested for that. In Burning Man, the laws still apply. You can't. It's not just an anarchic free for all. So drugs are still illegal, even though lots of people are doing them. There's still a police presence and everything, but as far as like nudity, and as long as you control yourself, chances are you'll be okay. So it's a very safe spot to push those boundaries if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. All right. So you want to skip enough on the Burning Man? I didn't want to do a Burning Man podcast.
Yeah, well, it's a Burning Man episode now, so I think I'll be labeling it.
You wanted to chat more about Burning Man, or
no? What have you been up to the past August?
Yeah, so for most of August, pretty much, I think I shot up to Pennsylvania like the end of July, and then come August, I knew I had a trip coming up with a friend, the girl I'm seeing now. So I'm actually up here hanging out in Rhode Island, and then I thought Burning Man I was going to be going to on August 26th, but before that, the girl I'm seeing was off. We were thinking about going to Panama. Like we played around with a couple of different travel ideas, but I just wasn't feeling like to go back down south for some reason. So last minute, I put together this like impromptu road trip. We drove. We first drove up from Rhode Island. We went to Vermont, and we stayed at two different places on Airbnb. The first place was I went to Target, and I bought a tent, and we slept outside on someone's 15 acres on a private like big property up in like rural Vermont, which was a really cool experience. Stayed with a nice family. Stayed another place up in Vermont, and one day I decided, I was like, let's go kayaking. And well, this was a couple days before. I thought, let's go kayaking. Did some research, found a place, and called them up, and they had like a 4-mile kayaking thing. And then they had like 2 or 3 advanced levels. And I was like, advanced levels. I saw like one, and it was like 9.5 mile kayak. And I was like, I think I've kayaked like maybe a mile or 2 in the bay. And I was like, all right. And my friend, she's never kayaked at all. So I was like, yeah, so I called the guy, chatted with him. It was cool. We ended up and when I talked to him, he's like, yeah, I was like, do we need to, he was like, oh, this is her first time? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I was like, we're cool. We're down with adventure. She's tough. This is good. He's like, oh, the last people that went out, there's like 5 log jams. I'm like, a log jam? What's a log jam? He's like, it's a log jam, man. You gotta get around it, over it, through it. You gotta somehow pass. It's pretty much just like a shitload of fallen timber, like right in the middle of the river. So
Yeah.
we passed over
Damn beavers.
yeah, 5 log jams. Anyway, we kayaked. It took us 7 hours to do the entire thing. Like,
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, it was intense. It was a lot of fun. That was a really cool experience. I definitely feel like I didn't. That wasn't really pushing. I think Burning Man pushes your kind of like. That's a different kind of pushing boundaries. This is just pushing yourself physically. Burning Man pushes yourself not only physically, but like on many other levels. But it felt really good to do something like that, to do like a physical and a mental push. And then we drove up to Montreal. I picked up my first hitchhiker. We picked up a girl, Veronica, who was a French Canadian girl that somehow, I forget her story, but she was doing something in Vermont, and we stopped and we're like, I don't know, it's just the situation just arose and it felt really natural to just pick up a hitchhiker. And she just happened to be going to Vermont. So we drove for like 3 hours with this girl. We ended up having dinner with her in Montreal. Montreal was really cool. It was a neat
We were both there the same day. What the hell?
I emailed Scott and he's like, dude, I just missed you or something. It's so random.
Yeah.
But yeah, had a nice time in Montreal. Then up there, we kind of got a little bit quiet. Instead of renting a place on Airbnb where we like shared space, I rented out a little apartment on the one place, 2 little apartments or condos, which is really nice. And just had a really nice time, like relaxing, did some work, hung out. Just a lot of new experiences, like new city. Everything's in French. So like when you're reading directions, someone's like, oh yeah, just make a right on Rue Saint-Denis. You're like, Rue Saint-Denis? How do you spell that? What? I don't even know what to look for on the sign. What word is that? So that was cool. I was up in Montreal for about, I don't know, a week more or less.
Oh, wow.
Came back down. Just been working a lot, hanging out, having fun, relaxing, just realizing that summer's over. And next, on Tuesday, I'm taking the train back to Pennsylvania. A girlfriend of mine from 2 years ago, her and I adopted a cat, and she had to move and she can't take the cat with her. So we've been looking for a home, and I was having no luck in Philadelphia. So I put the ad up in the New England area, and I found a really awesome woman who has a male black and white cat. This is a female black and white cat. So anyway, next week is like cat week. I'm going down to PA. I'm picking up a cat that this is Shanti. She's a cat that I lived with for like a year or two. Bring her all the way back up here, and I found a home for her up on Cape Cod. And then I think shooting back down to Miami. Got to kind of settle in a little bit, get a little alone time. I'm doing work up here, but I'm
Different,
in company. Yeah. It's different. You get a little work done, and then work for the fall, and then I'll be shooting down to Colombia probably from Thanksgiving until New Year's, and I'm pretty sure I think you're coming down there. So
yeah, I'd be heading down probably the end of the first week of December. I've got a little bit of work to do beginning December. I'm going to talk with Danny a little bit later, our buddy Danny.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be fun. So that's pretty much it's crazy, man, because I was just thinking like, holy dude, it was just May. Like summer is fast.
I know.
Summer is quick. So I'm enjoying September. It's a little cool, but once it starts to get a little bit more cold, my Florida kind of vibe just says get back down to Florida and just enjoy the sun until like it'll be nice until November, and then December it's like in the low 60s, high 50s.
Oh, poor baby. Oh, how do you ever cope with that?
Dude, I'm cold, man.
Oh. I'm just happy I'm not in the desert anymore.
Yeah.
Just like dirty, no showers, covered in dust, just like sweating and 100 degrees or so.
How
was nice being back here.
Did you drink? Did you guys, how was the supply? Did you guys get more than
we had more than enough water.
That's good.
Yeah, like we took less than we even budgeted, and we had tons at the end. So that's another thing. Like next year we know we don't need 3 gallons a person. We definitely
today. Is that
yeah, but we actually just need 1.5.
Okay, it's good to know. Yeah.
Things like that. We learned a lot, and so next year will be even better. So actually, we're talking to a few other people that like Aaron, our buddy Aaron, that decided not to go also last minute, and basically it'll be an even smoother operation next time. Yeah. So just look at it like that, and it's kind of a positive.
How's the RV experience? You thinking of doing RV again? Is that the best setup?
We do hexa-yurts also next time. I think hexa-yurts made out of insulation panels. It's like an open source building plan to make a yurt out of insulation.
Oh, a yurt. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you still going to drive out? So no, there's no need for an RV then, right?
The RV became just a pigsty after a couple of days. It's full of this sand and if it hits water, it becomes this like like concrete type mud. And man, it took us hours and hours and hours of cleaning out the RV at the end. Like it was no joke. It got all up in everything, like into us, into our possessions, into the RV. It was just
How were the electronics? Did they all hold through? You didn't.
Some people lost electronics. Some people's electronics broke.
Damn, what broke?
Some of our EL wire. I think a camera.
What's EL wire?
It's the lighty up wire that you can like bend around. And,
the LED stuff.
Yeah. We'll be using for our rickshaw. Yeah, it's a harsh environment. Yeah. So it was interesting to see what made it and what didn't. And so next time, plan for what we know.
Yeah, I'm thinking in the back of my head already. I'm listening to you talking in the back of my head. I'm like, episode whatever this is, like Burning Man and nudity, or this is all we've been talking about. But let me just check my notes or anything else I wanted to mention here on the coming in about. This might be our shortest show. If we can. Yep. We're coming in the home stretch here. What do you have? What do you have upcoming the next few months? I know your schedule's jam packed.
Do a lot of work in September, and then.
Were you picking up like client phone calls, answering any emails or anything?
You know what? We were all off the grid for the whole week. It's the first time I've been totally off the grid in. I don't even know. I can't remember.
Great, doesn't it?
I mean, even throughout Africa, like there's at least, once or twice a week I'd be checking email and stuff. This is the first time I've been off the grid in recent memory. And you know what? The world didn't end. Nice. Lucky for me.
Yeah. That was the piece that was stressing me out because I knew the week before I was going, I was already disconnected from the grid and I knew I'd be on some adventure because my friend had that week off. And I was like, oh shit, doing it again. And right now I'm doing a lot of client work and stuff. But so it sounds like you had everything, you did as much as you could ahead of time to set things in the right mood.
Yeah, I mean, even on the RV over there, I was working for about 48 hours straight, and then I collapsed, into a heap and slept for a whole 3 hours. Wow. I was just trying to get stuff done before we went over there. Yeah, and so it was Burning Man. It was an experience, and so September I'm doing a lot of work. Visit my buddy Manish in Boston and a few other friends over in Boston in a couple weeks. And October, heading off to Bangkok for the Dynamite Circle meetup.
You flying directly into in Thailand?
Yep, going to Thailand. And after that, I'll be heading to Bali for about a week. Awesome. And then I'll be back here in November. Who knows what November?
How far is the trip from Thailand to Bali? Flight taken?
It's a little ways. I think it's like 7 hours, something like that. It's over on the east side of Indonesia.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll be staying here until it starts to get cold in October, and then I'll move somewhere warm, and then I'll be back for November when it's even colder, and then I'll go to Colombia where it's warm, and then I'll be back. It's
all right. It'll be springtime before you know it. I'm just amazed at how fast. I'm amazed at how fast this year went. Really, this year has gone by. I mean, it's not over yet, but like somehow in my mind, I'm already like December's around the corner. Crap! It went by quick.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, crazy.
Some friends joke with me because I make reference often to like I feel like I'll be 70 soon. I say this a lot. Like there are times when I feel like an old man. Like I feel like life goes quick, even though I'm young. I'm just like, damn, it really does.
Yeah, I know. This year has been crazy. It's been very exciting, and it's also gone very fast. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It does. So one on that, and I got let me pull up our quote to close out our show for today.
Quote the episode.
Anything else? And we'll do a water. We're doing water on this podcast. So cheers, Scott.
My WDS thermos.
Make sure you drink your water. I drink water every morning I wake up right next to my alarm clock is this huge glass. Sometimes you see me with a glass of water on the show. Water is like the only thing, more or less the only thing I drink. And today's quote to wrap it up for you guys comes from Brian Tracy. All successful people are dreamers, big dreamers. They imagine what their life could be, ideal in every respect, and then they work every day towards their distant vision, goal, or purpose. Until next time, folks, keep rocking. We'll talk to you then.
Ciao.
See you, Scott.